Hi, welcome to Talkin Business. I'm Joe Catrambone, CEO of the Stuart Martin County Chamber of Commerce, and it is my distinct pleasure to have one of my board members, also my chiropractor, Dr. Brian Moriarty with us today. Doc, thank you for, I know how busy you are. I can't tell you how much I appreciate your doing this. I have a little bit of a bio on you. I much rather you tell people about you than me tell people about you. So one of the things I always like to start off with is what brought you to Martin County?
What brought me to Martin County? Whew, that's a tough one. Honestly, God brought me to Martin County, if I'm being honest, Joe. Probably not a religious program here, but I prayed and prayed and prayed when I was in Orlando, because I was an associate chiropractor in Orlando for 8 years with my aunt and uncle in a wonderful practice, wonderful opportunity. But we needed something different. Orlando's a hustle and bustle town, and we wanted to raise a family, and Martin County kept coming up, and like I said, I prayed for it, and it came to fruition, and we found a practice here that we were excited to purchase and make our own. And I can tell you today, we are celebrating our 9-year anniversary being open with Loving Chiropractic of Stuart.
It's amazing. And you have how many associates now?
We have 3 associates with me, so 4 of us total.
So is there anything surprised you or anything you didn't expect when you got here? Was there any bumps in the road, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, we came here literally with the shirts on our back. I mean, we didn't have a whole lot. We had sold everything to purchase the practice, and we came here, and the practice we got was not flourishing, we'll say, and we needed to hit the ground running to build it up. And that's where I got involved in the chambers. That's where I got involved in networking groups, Rotary clubs, everything local to have somewhat of a grassroots effect on this community, because we wanted to build this practice. It was seeing about 70 patients a week when we took it over, and now 9 years later, we're seeing about 1,000 patients a week. Wow. So we've grown exponentially, incredibly in these 9 years.
And I know not too long ago, within the last couple of years maybe, you had talked about maybe moving, trying to find another location, only for more room.
Right.
Because you're seeing 1,000 patients a week. For, in all intents and purposes, your office isn't small, but it's amazing that you handle that many people in that space.
Well, we have an incredible staff, and we have incredible doctors that run our practice. We started out in the place next door that was 1,100 square feet, and we grew that to about 500 patients a week, and then we were busting at the seams. I mean, we had a line outside all the time, and then we moved to the space next door, which we're currently in, which is 2,000 square feet. And now there are several opportunities that we're looking to make it even bigger by possibly expanding in the same plaza or another building that we can, this way we can serve more people. Because it's all about serving our community, and we want to serve people, and having more space would help us to do that.
And even now, there not often, but there's times there are people sitting in chairs outside. So, you know, and one of the things that I want to get into where you went to school first, because I think that's important that people know that there are differences. But one of the things that intrigues me is that I see these pregnant women coming in and out of your office, and I see newborns coming into your office. Tell me about that.
That's a great question, Joe, because I get that a lot. So chiropractic has been pigeonholed in the public in a model of back pain, neck pain, headaches. And we do some of those things, and we help with some of those things, okay? But chiropractic is about improving your nervous system. It is about improving your life, and it's about living to your full potential. And a newborn baby is not going to have a backache. So why would we see them? Well, maybe because the birthing process, whether it's a vaginal birth or a C-section, is very rough on a baby. And maybe because a baby doesn't have ligaments in their neck fully developed till they're about 4 to 6 weeks old, and their head's just kind of flopping in the breeze, and you're able to pick one up and their head goes backwards. So the birthing process is very rough on a baby. They can get misaligned, which could lead to a lot of different issues like colic, a poor latch in breastfeeding, gassiness, irritability, and they'll express those type symptoms and going to a chiropractor and having a very gentle, specific adjustment to realign their spine, not a cracking type adjustment, but a very gentle, light pressure type adjustment, and it could change that baby's life. It could help a pregnant mom be more comfortable and have a smoother delivery, because when her hips are out of alignment, it puts pressure on the uterus, constrains all the ligaments, and makes it a really long and rough birth, where if everything's in alignment and we balance the pelvis and we loosen the round ligaments using the Webster technique, which we're certified in through the ICPA, it's a very smooth process, and less time in labor, less side effects, less chance of a C-section, and less chance of anything bad coming. So there's thousands and thousands of articles on research through the ICPA with pregnancy and newborn adjustments. And the moms right now are hungry for that. They see people having much better births, and they want to have a better birth themselves, and that's why they seek us out.
Yeah, and I mean, without fail, and you know, I come for tune-ups, and sometimes I come more often than tune-ups, but there's not a time, it never fails that there's not a pregnant woman in your office. It was really, I don't know why I never gave any thought to the hip alignment. You know, what, I'm a guy, what do you know? Maybe comes out, you know.
Yeah.
So when I first moved to Stuart in '89, I had a chiropractor in Titusville who was a dear friend. Aside from being my chiropractor, he was my friend before he was my chiropractor, actually. But anyway, he always fixed me.
Right.
And he was a Palmer graduate.
Yep.
Okay. And so I had gone to other chiropractors, and really, I didn't feel I had any success in them helping me.
Right.
So when I moved to Stuart, there was not a Palmer graduate in Stuart. I used to drive to Titusville to see Gary Ostosky, who was my chiropractor up there. I actually drove to Titusville for a chiropractic visit.
Wow.
And then Frank Rubino, I think his name was, Dr. Frank Rubino, he's dead now. He opened the practice. He was a Palmer graduate, and I started going to him. And so can you tell us the difference in the schools?
Right.
Is there a methodology?
Well, yeah. I mean, the different schools teach different things. Some are stronger on philosophy. Some are stronger on technique. Where I went to, Palmer, Florida, has a Palmer package technique, which I know you like in our office. So the thing with everybody has to find what works best for them, okay? Some people like a hands-on adjustment. Some people like an instrument-based adjustment. Some people like gentle. Some people like medium. Some people like hard. You got to figure out what's best for you and your spine and what's going to keep you into alignment. And once you find that, which for you it seems like a Palmer graduate is what works for your spine, that's where you need to go. I've had other people come to me and we've adjusted them and they said, maybe that's not for me, and they go to someone up the street. That's great, okay? Because my goal, and every chiropractor's goal, should be to get people under chiropractic care no matter where it is. Because right now, there's about 5% of the population under chiropractic care. 5%. So there's 95% that are just with no one. And sadly, what chiropractors do is we fight over the 5%, where we should be encouraging people because I can't see everybody, and my competitors can't see everybody. So why can't we all kind of team up and see everybody? And then the population and society wins as a whole, because they're not subluxated. They're not out of alignment. They live their best lifestyle.
Gosh, I'm guessing, but at least 40 years ago, I was having really serious back issues. I was in Titusville at the time. And I went to see a back surgeon. Well, what do back surgeons do? They do surgery. So the furthest thing from my mind was surgery. I was mortified to even think about it. My father-in-law said to me, go see a chiropractor. And all I knew about chiropractors, I thought, oh, he's going to hurt me. He said, no, I'm telling you, go see a chiropractor. So he encouraged me. I went to a chiropractor. To this day, I haven't had surgery.
Great.
So that's how long ago I believed and knew, because MD didn't help me. The chiropractor helped me. So I have been a strong, firm believer that I much rather go to a chiropractor than an MD. Sorry, docs, but I mean,
Well, I mean, and everybody has their specialties. MDs do great work every day.
course.
We're back specialists, and that's where where we flourish. So, excuse me. For us, we try to save people from having back surgery. For a lot of people, they jump into surgery at a young age, too soon, too fast, where we like to think that that's a great last resort. Like if you have no other options, then hey, that may be something you need to try. But we're going to do everything we can to keep people out of the surgeon's office, out of becoming under the knife, because to be honest with you, back surgeries are not foolproof. And they don't always work, and they lead to more and more and more surgeries, which aren't always successful. So it's like once you get on that pathway, it kind of goes downhill from there. So if what we can do in our office to save people like you from having surgery to live your best life, I feel like that's a good service for you.
No doubt. So the other thing I forgot to tell you, I did ask the surgeon. They were going to do a fusion operation. I'm a layman. I said, so that means you're going to restrict movement. You're going to fuse that area of my spine. What effect is it going to have? What mobility am I going to lose? Oh, we don't know that. Oh, really? Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was scary.
Right.
Obviously.
I mean, if you're laying in bed for like a month and you can't move, okay, like that's a real option. But you're right. If you, had surgery and fused those things together, it's probably going to lead to other areas going bad and other areas needing to be fused until your whole spine is fused. So, I wouldn't want to lose that mobility if I could go to a chiropractor and save me from that.
I'm with you. I'm a proponent. So let's talk a little bit about especially your involvement in the chamber. You're such a great chamber member. You're on the board. You just were appointed and agreed to chairing probably our most popular committee, our local government.
I love that committee. Yeah.
And I know you've attended for years.
Yep.
And so Elliot Paul, who you replaced.
Who?
Yeah, well, how soon we forget. So, what benefit do you see? How has that helped you, aside from giving? And I know you did that because you want to help out, but
Right.
there's a benefit there too.
Yeah, I mean, we see an incredible benefit from the chamber. I mean, I didn't join the chamber really to get much out of it. I joined to give. And I think if a lot of more people would join without really an expectation of like, I have to get 10 clients next week, I think they'd be more successful. But we joined to be a part of it, to have our name out in the community. And, early on, maybe we didn't get like a flood of clients. But then you keep showing up. You go to events. You go to an after hours. You go to a lunch. You show up at a breakfast. You sponsor something. And people get to know you. And then when something comes up, oh, I've been rear-ended in a car accident. Oh, I have this issue. I have that issue. They remember your name and they start to find you through the chamber. I love being on the board of the chamber. I really, it's going to be so sad when that day ends, when I have to come off this board, because I know there's term limits, but we have a great board meeting. There's so much information I learn from the community that I have when I leave that meeting that I'm like, oh my gosh, look what I know that no one else knows. It's like you have the inside baseball of Martin County by going to this meeting. And I love our local government and transportation. It's like the hidden gem that no one knows about, where you get a lot of the who's who in the community come, and we have somewhat of a round table, and there's a speaker, but there's a lot of discussion between leaders in the community, and we really get to flourish. A lot of great ideas come out of those meetings. That's my favorite meeting of the month is that, and it was an honor to be asked to co-chair that committee because I love being a part of that.
Well, there's so many, you learn, as you said, you learn so much. The business portion of our board meeting is 15 or 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we do the financials,
Right.
my report, and then the rest of it is people like the superintendent of schools, the county administrator, the city manager, people like that who are ex officio members of our board, the school board, that share what's happening in their world.
Right.
So it's not just a focused meeting, it's widespread.
Right, and they're sharing what's really happening. You're not getting the Channel 5 news update.
Right now.
You're getting this is what's happening, and this is
Here's-
what I really think of it. And because they're around peers, they probably share more than normally in the public. So you get that inside knowledge of what's going on, and it's so much great information. Think about during the pandemic. I mean, we had the hospital reporting, we had the county, we had the city, we had all the inside stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
We're
there's so
very-
many. Yeah,
We're so fortunate.
we had so much more information than most people had because I was on that board. So,
Well, Doc, is there anything you want to mention? We're kind of winding down. Anything that we missed that you want to discuss?
you know, I want to just tell one quick story, Joe, about how I got into chiropractic. Okay, when I want to tell a story about a woman named Terry. Okay, we'll call her Terry, and Terry had a very rough life. Terry had lost her husband. Terry had lost her 3-month-old baby, and her 17-year-old son was diagnosed with a malignancy and was given 6 months to a year to live. She took her 17-year-old son to every specialist. He had countless surgeries. He had an intestinal problem. He had surgery after surgery where they kept taking part of his intestines out. Finally, she goes to work crying and crying. Oh, I've lost my 3-month-old baby. I've lost my husband. Now I'm losing my 17-year-old. And her boss had a brother who was a chiropractor. And her boss said, take your son to me. So she rode with her son an hour and a half each way, because chiropractors weren't that prevalent. This is back in the 1950s. Take your son to my brother. An hour and a half on the train and subway, 3 times a week for 6 months. And that boy, that 17-year-old, instead of passing away in 6 months or a year, lived another 30 years because of chiropractic care. Now that woman who we're calling Terry was my grandmother. And that boy, that 17-year-old boy, was my dad.
Wow.
And
Wow.
chiropractic care literally saved his life. And in that 30 extra years of life he had, he was able to have 3 children, me being the middle child. So I'm literally alive today because of chiropractic care. And I want that message to get out there to people that it's not just about back pain. It's not just about neck pain. It's about your life. And it saved my father's life. And it saved my grandmother from that additional grief. And it inspired my dad to become a chiropractor. And it inspired me to become a chiropractor. And that's why 17 years later in practice, I still love seeing patients of all ages in my office. So I want to thank you for having me on,
Great
Joe.
story, Doc. I'm
Appreciate
glad you
it.
shared that. Thank you so much.